Okay, my turn to tell my story. Okay, well, you got the beginning part, being born and raised in Brooklyn and having the most fabulous parents in the world, which cannot be overlooked. And it was just a home of love and laughter and joy, and there's not a day that goes by, especially since our parents are gone, that I'm not grateful for the environment that they procured for us. It was really something that I wish everybody in the world could be surrounded with so much love. So with that said, it makes me miss them all the more. But again, we have to look back in a place of gratitude. So we had fun, everything was great. High school was like fabulous. And I know that that's not an easy thing for a lot of people to say. Again, a lot of gratitude. I feel very lucky. We were a group of probably close to 40 friends. And we would all congregate on this one street called East 29th Street. So we coined ourselves the East 29th Street Gang, although we did nothing gang-like other than, drink alcohol and smoke pot. And we just, are you going to the block tonight? And everybody would go and meet at the block, and we would hang out and just, really enjoy each other. And there really wasn't like cattiness among the girls, and everybody just really had each other's back, and it was just a real kinship that we all had. So shout out to the E29 gang, you know who you are. And so high school was fabulous, and had a couple of boyfriends. My very first boyfriend was 5 years older than me, but he was like swooning my mother at the same time that he was swooning me. So he was very well accepted, although Stu didn't like him very much, but he doesn't like a lot of people. And although he likes me, so that's a good thing. And so boyfriends, fabulous boyfriends, like one after another. And even though I had like crushes on women, like men was so easy. Like the next, like I would have a boyfriend, we'd break up, and there'd be like another one like right there, and so even though I knew that I had a craving for women, I had a craving for men too, and this still holds true to date. But just like the men kept coming, and quality people. So I just sort of continued to follow on that path, and with no regret. And then decided to become a nurse with the help of my sister's suggestion, and became a nurse, and then moved into Manhattan, and then had the whole Sex and the City thing in my 20s. So it was a time when you can be in your 20s and have your own apartment in Manhattan, in a studio, let's not get crazy. And so we were all in Manhattan just having a great time, me and all my girlfriends. And it was also a major bonus because at that time there was a big nursing shortage, and the hospitals were paying for nurses to work at their hospital, and they would subsidize your rent. So I was living on the Upper East Side, and with the hospital like paying like 75% of my rent. So when it was like time to go out, and my girlfriends would be like, "Oh no, I'm a little short tonight," I'd be like, "Well, what are you, crazy? I got money, let's go." So nothing was holding us back. So that was also a very fun chapter. Lots of laughs. We like rented houses out in Long Island for the summer, and we'd party on the beach for the summer, and that was great. And then Cindy and her family moved down, and Chelsea was 1 year old, and it was just the thought of being apart from them, as well as my mom and dad, was a bit too much to bear. And so I said, all right, let me come down, I'll spend a little time. And so I did what was called traveling nursing, where you like sign a 3-month contract, you go down and you work for 3 months, and then you can move on to another contract in another state if you so chose. And so I did. I came down to be with my family, welcome my nephew into the world, and just love on my niece as well. And within the first week I met my husband, and so my like 3-month visit has turned into a 25-year visit. And it was great, we're still very good friends to date. We had a lot of common interests because I got bit by the travel bug very young. I did my first cross-country trip when I was 16, And from that point on, just travel and the environment and nature and the spirituality that all that has to offer just became such a big part of me. So, and he was like, and he had that passion too. So that was like a very strong bond for us. And we had a great time. We went on very exotic trips and had really great experiences. And then it became time to get serious. And I was ready to, dig my heels in and, have a home and a child, and he was hesitant, and I said, okay, well, if you don't want to do that, then like now is the time to say it, because now we're going to go our separate ways. Like our fork in the road had come upon us. And he said, no, I'll do it. And really, he agreed to it because he didn't want to lose me, not because he really wanted it. And 2 years later, we divorced, basically because our life projections were different. But as I said, we're still good friends because we didn't break up because we didn't like each other. We broke up because we wanted different things. But yeah, like post-divorce, I don't know that anybody's happy post-divorce, even if you're the one that wants the divorce. And so that was a very dark time for me, and that was like a time that required a lot of therapy. And so shout out to the psychiatrists of the world, because they scooped me up from the bottom of the floor, helped me become whole again. And when I became whole, 3 months later, I met my wife. And isn't that interesting, how once you are whole and you love yourself again, then you are really able to love others once again. And met my wife. We're together now 14 years, married for 11, and it's just a beautiful thing. She's everything that a person can ever want, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, after I divorced my husband, I made a list of all the things that I want in a person and all the things that I don't want, and she just fit the bill 100%. Of course, going from the straight world to the gay world, that's 5 shows right there, because it's interesting because you're the same person, but the world looks at you differently. So there's a lot of challenge in that. But to date, I am married to the most fabulous woman in the world. Everybody around me loves her, maybe probably even more than they love me. And we have our 3 furry children, our cats, Trick and Treat, which we adopted in October of 2010. And we have our little furry dog, Luna, who we adopted 2 years ago from the Broward shelter. And we're just, living our life and having a great time. And professionally, after I was down here for a while, I became a nurse practitioner. Worked for a private practice in cardiology for many years, and that was very nice. We were like a little family, and then they sold the practice, and I went to work for corporate America in the healthcare field as a nurse practitioner, and that was, less than. So my wife and I spoke about it, and she said, why don't you just take some time off? For 35 years, you've been running around hospitals and giving of yourself constantly, and maybe it's time for you to take a break and just think of yourself and just maybe pamper yourself a little bit, and that idea was like, oh, where that really never occurred to me that was an option. So I said, okay, let's give that a shot. And I retired at 54, and then it was time to sort of see what the next chapter of my life was going to be. And the funny thing is that when I retired, people kept asking me, well, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? And I finally, after a couple of months, when I really became comfortable with the idea of being retired, really just finally said, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I hadn't said that, I think in my whole life. And that's what I'm doing. And then when Cindy and I started talking about this, I was like, you know what? I want to do that. And so therefore, here's the next chapter. And I'm so looking forward to writing this next exploration with my sister and with everybody who shares this with us. And, life's a journey. Let's explore.